Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Khalil Doheny. I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager at Digital Niche Agency. Today, I have the team at Fan Rebellion. Fan Rebellion, how are you guys doing today?
Everyone feels like they're an expert in entertainment. So they always have an opinion. They always tell you what you should have done, how they would have done it. Because entertainment and food, it's just part of everyone's reality.
Yeah.
But in this case, you could actually get in
Right.
and have a voice in the entertainment and invest your money in something that is interesting to you. Not just watching a line on a chart, right?
Right.
But actually saying, this is cool. This is something I want to talk about. And it didn't cost you your life savings. It's an interesting opportunity. Las Vegas is an untapped market practically for these small investors. It is an attempt to have democratized investment in entertainment and also to give people a voice in what the entertainment is. We are literally going to be a fan-owned entertainment company. This gives an opportunity for like an everyday investor, a small investor, to invest in live entertainment, which we believe is arguably one of the most interesting places to put your money.
So when you say investors, though, are we talking about, common investors from a corporate community, or are we talking about actual consumers?
We're talking about our consumers, our fans, our audience. Those are our investors.
Fans get to invest. Fan Rebellion is your way in.
Yeah.
It's your way into the conversation. It's your way into what people are going to see as Vegas continues to evolve, into, everything but your grandparents' Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And it's cool that grandparents still come.
Yes.
Right. But you know what? My 15-year-old now comes to Vegas.
Yeah.
And he is beginning to enjoy the Vegas experience.
It's evolving, and we want to be part of that evolution. And,
Exactly.
and because of what's happening in the way media is shared now,
Sure.
the way entertainment is shared, like I think the fan needs to be involved in that evolution.
Absolutely. So that when they get here, they know what to expect because they were part of the building.
Yep. But the ability to be able to say to a fan base that is also a financial investor in a project and say, look, we're thinking about going this direction. We're thinking about doing a hip hop show. We're thinking about doing a classic rock show. We're thinking about doing an interactive theater piece. What are your thoughts? We might come up with something that individually none of us would have thought of.
I love that.
And that sort of ability to collectively harness the opinions and views is that positive feedback mechanism.
If you like what you've heard, if the idea of being an owner and an investor in live entertainment sounds good to you, please go to our website, go to fanrebellion.com. There you'll have access, you'll have links to the regulated portal for investment.
Please join us on this journey. We'd love to have you on board to be not just an audience member, not just a participant, but also to be a voice and to be an owner in this amazing industry. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for that video. And we have the gentleman from Fan Rebellion. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Khalil. How are you doing?
Pretty amazing.
Really good.
Awesome. If you guys want to give a little bit of an intro to yourselves, a little bit of a background, how you guys got started, and how you guys got into Fan Rebellion today.
Sure.
Of course.
I'll start.
Absolutely.
Just,
You always do.
I sat myself in the middle.
You did.
So, I'm Seth, and as you may have seen in that video, we started Fan Rebellion because we were just looking for a different way to do things here. We've been producing shows in Vegas and around the country, really, for years, and I just got tired of the business model, raising money from project to project, and seeing investors that would lose on that project and win on that project, and it was not always because it was the fault of the project. And we wanted to do something where everyone takes the ride together and everyone is has the unified goals. And on top of that, we wanted to do something where we could involve lots of smaller investors, because most of these projects have very big investors. And again, only investing in one project. That wasn't really an intro of me. I guess I just introed Fan Rebellion, but but here I'll let Jimmy talk.
Hey, I'm Jimmy, and I guess I come from the music space, right? So I started off in in the A&R space, spent some time there, worked at a bunch of major labels, and got the music bug. The progression of that looked like shows because that's the way people had to start making money, so shows began to take over because there was no way to make mechanical royalties anymore because nobody buys albums, so I spent the last 8 or 9 years of my life putting on major festivals, and there was, even with those, there's no opportunity for the fan to actually get involved. You know what I mean? Like they're just participating, as a consumer, and we pretty much make the decisions for them. We tell them what they want to hear, so to speak, and I think, I'm sort of going to dovetail into Fan Rebellion as well, because my background is a little bit boring.
Why you're here anyway.
That's pretty much why we're here. But, truth of the matter is that, I think that, fans want to be more involved and make decisions. I mean, TV works basically that way right now. TV is, on demand pretty much, everything is streamed. When was the last time you turned on like ABC and just watched it for a day? So I think that, that's sending us a signal saying that people want to get involved and people want to make decisions. And I think that Fan Rebellion really offers that. So
I'm gonna not introduce myself right away first, but I'm gonna.
We did such a good job.
I know.
Ourselves.
So one of the things in this outreach that has become clear to me, whether it's been on Facebook, LinkedIn, talking to friends, is that our industry is a black box with almost no real insight. So I was listening to you say that I started off in the music industry in the A&R.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Right. Well, this is true. Listen. Good point.
And did you know what it meant when you were in
I absolutely did not know what it meant. I just knew it was a cool job to have. So for me, my day-to-day activity was pretty much, going out, finding bands, right? Signing those bands. I'll give you an example. Chris Brown, right? So I signed him over to Jive. But that's not the whole.
Okay, so let's even start though. Jive was the record.
Jive was the record label.
Okay.
Chris Brown actually came in as a dancer for another artist that we were looking at, and he was actually out singing the guy that was auditioning. And when they walked out of the conference room, we all said, the tall, light-skinned guy, the dancer, it's about him. At our label, at Jive Records, we were really good at knowing who our fan was. All right. Again, back to the Fan Rebellion thing, right? But we really knew who our fan was. They chewed bubblegum. They were young. They were hip. Cultured, well-cultured kids. When we sign acts, that's really how we go about signing acts. We don't just listen to the music, right? I had to make sure that if we're going to spend a couple of $1 million on a particular project, that I knew the route to sell that project.
When you say that, I think, part of what the impetus for this whole project is that, you're accessing, what the fan thinks.
Absolutely.
I feel like where we're at now, and, we're sort of focused on Vegas here, right?
Mhm.
But it's almost like you mentioned, in terms on ABC. Well, it's kind of like, the 80s when you could watch whatever sitcom you wanted.
Absolutely.
From 3 time slots on 3 channels.
Yeah.
So it was like this illusion of choice,
Mhm.
but really it was all filtered through what, some sort of powers that be
Mhm.
were letting us watch. And,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's what's happening with live entertainment,
Sure.
where when you have big companies that own it, they are focusing their energy on what's going to attract the masses.
Absolutely.
Which they should, because that's how a big company operates. But they're missing. There's a huge blind spot to all these smaller,
Niche, intimate.
more intimate, they become underserved markets where,
Absolutely.
where do you go for that unique entertainment or that? And, in New York, it's a little bit more like of an independent atmosphere where there's off Broadway and off Broadway. And
Mhm.
if you can pay the rent, you can roll the dice.
Mhm.
But in a place like Vegas, you have to like pass muster with the
Mhm.
things they say, because they're gambling on the use of their space, and it's
For
the
sure.
highest use of their space. And so it really does get filtered, even if it's not intentional, to the point that I think it's very hard to launch unique content, niche content.
Mhm.
Sounds so hoity-toity when you say niche. I want to say niche. I don't know if I can. But you know, and you don't end up with you end up with whole demographics, I think, being overlooked.
Sure. I mean, listen, you know, for a while, even with Jive, we overlooked the adults. You know what I mean? You know, those are the guys, parents that are making the decisions about where those kids are spending their money.
Right.
You know, and it was interesting marketing research that we found out. We were doing something with Xbox at the time. We were, you know, sending music to them and, you know, really building an additional way of selling records, you know, through video games. And we realized even then that, you know, I was thinking that, you know, Xbox would be marketed towards 14-year-old boys. It turned out that Xbox was actually marketed to 40-year-old women because it's the women that were controlling the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? But even that was the beginning for us at Jive. That was the beginning of us figuring out other ways to make money with music, because at the time we had lost the opportunity to really sell. I mean, who's selling 8 million records anymore?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's kind of like, so one of the things that I'm making sure is that what does Fan Rebellion do? Right. So
Sure.
at the core of it, it is a live entertainment production company and creative company that creates content, produces content, licenses content, tours content in a live entertainment space.
Yep.
Well, what does that mean? Right. So if you haven't done this, it can be concerts, it can be curated, specialized venues, it can be an off Broadway. I use that term because Vegas would be very off Broadway, but you know, independently developed intellectual property with scripts that then would be toured. It could be the idea is to be able to take that whole gamut of live entertainment and produce for lack of better words, a pipeline of interesting, smaller but profitable and lucrative intellectual properties, touring properties, and live entertainment space. But at the same time, to take our cues not from what we think works, but to create a base of ideally thousands upon thousands of fan owners who are economically invested in sharing with us what they would like to see curated, what they would like to see created. And they've essentially pooled their resources to see those plans brought to fruition. Now, we have some beginning pipeline projects because you have to as a startup, but the idea is that as we expand our base, as our shareholder base and as our investor base increases, then there's an increased response to them bringing us projects, them bringing us ideas, because they are the ones that we are counting on to spread the word.
Absolutely.
They are the ones we're counting on to tell us the pulse of what their community and what their friends and family would like to go see in terms of that. I mean, I think that's the goal, is to be able to create a fan-owned company that can be operated with people with years of industry experience, but to execute with that industry experience, but to take with it information from grassroots investors who are not just there to give us ticket money, but are actually there to help guide and to curate the productions that we're doing, and then hopefully make some good profit off the long run. I mean, a long-standing, long-running show or a long touring venue can make good dividends and good revenue for generations. I mean, there are shows touring right now that have been touring for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, because those IP products become products of the producers of the companies, and they can relicense them 1,000 times over.
Well, I was going to say that the two differentiators here are, look, it's not reinventing the wheel to put a show out on the road, or like, you know what you're saying. And there are certainly a lot of creative people out there doing it. So this is in no way us saying the three of us are going to, you know, the geniuses that are going to make the next most amazing thing. I mean, I hope we do.
Yeah,
but,
I'm a genius, by the way.
Jimmy is the genius.
I am the genius.
If you don't know that, just ask him.
Just only me.
But the two differentiators here are, first of all, sourcing ideas. So not being in this closed loop, you know, it's this echo chamber of the company and its staff and what we think is cool. Like, you know, we think the next thing is, because when you do have, you know, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of fan owners, then you have this what do you call it?
Network?
No, what you do with the
Leverage?
label, I can't even think of it. a focus group. It's like a focus
Yeah,
group, and
absolutely.
everyone gets their
Yeah.
input, and you
Yeah.
can bounce ideas back and forth and keep it from going outside. 'Cause
Absolutely.
entertainment's such a weird business where everything's a secret. Like we're working on a bunch of stuff right now, and it's a challenge so that we can share information, with you guys on our Start Engine campaign without like blowing the opportunities we have in front of us. Because if we say, "Oh, we're working on this project for this venue and this," like then all of a sudden, everyone else is
Every
like,
competitor on the planet
Right.
is looking at what you're doing.
so anyway,
Absolutely.
so sourcing ideas and discussing those ideas is one, I think, huge differentiator. And the other one is simply that Vegas is such a large entertainment market. And we talked about Broadway, and Broadway shows have been getting small investors, and small is in air quotes because small means 25 grand,
Mhm.
but they've been getting small investors to back those shows for forever,
Years,
for
yeah.
decades and decades. And
creating a community that supports
Yes.
those shows.
and if you want to find out about that, you can Google about it, please. Like it's a great thing that happens there. But if you want to have some fun after that, go Google how to invest in shows in Vegas, and good luck.
Which,
Right.
by the way, a market that is in comparable terms comparable to New York. We have 121 different shows that run any moment on a 12-mile strip of land. Hundreds of touring projects come through here, whether it be bands, concerts, like it is. And we're a 2 million plus size metropolitan area that pretty much goes toe to toe with New York in
Right.
terms of actual productions that go live on any given day.
So
Absolutely.
it's such a large market. It's interesting that no one was allowed in as an individual investor. And then even as individual investors, like, so we have gone after individuals for our shows, which are not the Britney Spears residencies, or, they're not that magnitude. But even then, unless they were bringing in good six figures, it wasn't worth getting involved with an investor. And that investor's in one project.
Yeah.
And that project may be a great project, but the timing was wrong.
Yeah.
Or something out of our control. The artist may have been an issue.
Or political reasons,
Yeah.
economic reasons,
A pandemic.
COVID.
Right.
COVID,
Exactly.
wars. I mean, these things affect
Right.
us.
Yeah.
So even if you figured out a way to get into Vegas, you were putting up a bunch of money to be in one project. And this is a way of saying, hey, the people that are enjoying the entertainment, the people that are choosing what we do here, they can also influence the type of shows that are put up, and we can have stuff that appeals to them.
Right.
And then there's an opportunity to actually make money back off of them.
Right.
And even not just money, but you're an owner. We call it a fan owner.
Yeah. Yep.
A fan owner gets privileges,
Exactly.
and that'll change depending on what the projects are.
Right.
But just imagine, we always joke, you got a guy. We're
Yeah.
your guy in Vegas,
Yeah.
so you got a guy, and you have access in our shows to get upgrades, and you have access in our future venues to get discounts, or we'll figure all that out. But
It's like having a frequent flyer model,
Right.
but you're a part owner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How many of our viewers have Spotify and Pandora and, Apple and Tidal and all of those things, where you can curate your own list, but that's where the relationship stops. You know what I mean? You're not getting invitations to private events, after parties that we're
and
doing.
Spotify's not flipping you back cash
They're not,
because
exactly. That's
you're
my point.
playing the artist that you like.
As a matter of fact,
And
it's like-
artists aren't
yeah.
allowing you to put money.
Exactly.
Like if you put money into an artist, you've funded their next CD or whatever.
Exactly.
Or their next
Exactly.
CD, but
Exactly.
their next music video, whatever it is. But you don't make money back.
You're not
on it.
making money
You're just
back.
supporting
Exactly.
the arts, which is cool.
Exactly.
But in this case, the equivalent would be I put money behind that music video. Oh, and when you play that song on Spotify,
Right.
I make money off.
Exactly.
Well, so that's actually an excellent example. I think everyone can understand that. All right. So a lot of people are familiar with non-equity crowdfunding, Kickstarters
Absolutely.
being the one that always comes
yeah.
to mind for it. But Patreon was there for musicians and music.
Yep.
And let's just take that as a real basic model. Okay. I'm an artist. I make a music video. I get donations from my fans. Those fans donate $10,000 over the course of 6 months, 5 months, whatever. I make the music video. The music video goes viral, and it begins to get advertising support on that music video. And that artist is making $30,000 a year
Mhm.
off of that music video. Because if he's not a multimillionaire, this is not the he's not selling platinum. Okay, but he's got a
Sure.
revenue stream that
Sure.
only happened for two reasons, right? Two reasons: his artistic ability to execute. and whatever team was behind him.
Yep.
Because that's definitely a component of it, and the financial support and the capitalization that took place. Now, in most economic models, the person who puts up capital shares
Yep.
in the rewards of what the producer creates, right? The arts have essentially removed the capitalization model and said that the producers and the artists, and I'm including the artists and the producers, not from a technical point, but
Sure.
they're the ones producing the IP and the content.
Yes.
They're benefiting 100%. And the people, especially in a Patreon case, who donated the capital to provide for the cameraman, the
Yep.
lights, the camera, the
Yeah.
creative director, the choreographer,
The stylist.
are
They got a
receiving
t-shirt.
got
Yeah.
a t-shirt and are receiving no compensation. And
And a t-shirt's cool if it doesn't take off, but
Right.
man, does that suck if that
Yes.
turns into the
And-
next Billie Eilish.
at the very end of the day, that's what Fan Rebellion's goal is to be able to take. So I started this off asking Jimmy about a black box, right? So there is so much to go through to even understand how the entertainment industry works.
Yeah.
And I could give an hour-long lecture just on the difference between a 4-wall, a 2-wall,
Absolutely.
a single wall environment in a venue, whether or not you're in a back-end environment, if you're using GTP for generate. I mean, there's so much involved and so much terminology
Sure.
that I think that there's a disconnect when I try to
You didn't
explain-
use Nagbor yet.
Nagbor,
You should
yeah.
use Nagbor.
Nagbor, right? So there's there's box office settlements and fees. I mean,
Yeah.
believe me, when people say, Jason, I think this is a cool idea, but I don't even know what you do. I relate, right?
Yeah,
Because there is so much industry nomenclature, there is so much industry specific words
Yeah.
that I take for granted.
Yeah.
That the average individual just looks and glazes over. My friends who have known me for 20 years kind of glaze over. So I just want to emphasize that at its core, what we are trying to do is create a environment where small investors can participate in helping to produce creative, artistic, musical venues. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be music. So
Right.
I'm grappling here for the right
You're,
word.
you're
but
saying this, but
original
I also want to
content.
point out they don't have to be active. Like
No,
this
right.
isn't like,
Yeah.
oh, you've signed up.
Right.
Thanks for your $105. And by the way, now you're on the clock.
Exactly.
You owe us 5 ideas this year.
No, but I
like,
think-
it's just you can kind of get as
Yes.
involved as you want to get.
Yes.
And I just have to back up a second and say Nagbor is net adjusted gross box office revenue. So it's the gross box office revenue after the ticketing fees and the
Yes.
taxes.
Yeah.
That
But that
doesn't all go to us. That's a long story. That's another
Yeah.
lecture.
But that's the other point too. Like, so if you look at our Start Engine page, I feel like it does a great job of giving a glaze over and not really any understanding of what we're trying to do. I
Sure.
mean, if I'm to be honest, right? And the reason for that is that it would take 10 pages to really explain what we're trying to do. But at the end of the day, the goal is to be able to create an ecosystem. And I know that's a buzzword, right? But an ecosystem that vertically integrates the means of production, which is capital assets, sets, lights, I won't necessarily say cameras, but cameras can be involved depending on what you're doing. Audio support systems, video walls. Okay, that's the
marketing assets.
right. And then marketing assets, which would include things like mobile billboard trucks, LED walls, again, on that case, a digital team and digital content creation teams, so that we can create an ecosystem that is supported through the idea of eventually getting venue structures. And those venues become the housing place where we can create original content. And then we can also host original content. And that original content can originate, whether it be in Vegas or Phoenix or LA, wherever we set up these different places. And they then can go out into the world and tour, where they can also have a certain degree of residencies. And that word has changed a lot over the decades.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a weekend residency would used to just be called dates, but
Right.
a
It's 2 shows.
residency.
It's a residency.
Right, a residency, or they can have a long-standing multiple engagements, say 10 weeks or 12 weeks out of the year in this one spot, then tour. But then we also allow ourselves to partner and work with other producers, other creative entities, and the venue becomes a place where that creation energy takes place. And we take back-end ownership, we get to charge rent, we create revenue, we get to have guests come in. So there's a
Yeah.
ticketing venue, you get box office receipts
Yep.
because now you are the venue. And anyone who has gone to a concert and purchased a ticket on Ticketmaster or through unnamed hotel box offices,
Sure.
okay, has no doubt experienced the $2.50 printed fee ticket, or the email delivery fee for $5,
Sure.
or the venue acquisition seat fee. Okay, like, I mean, you a $49 ticket turns into an $89 purchase. That's an exaggeration to a degree, but not much on some
Not
places.
much, yeah.
And that drives the cost up on the consumer. If we can own the venue of operation, we can lower that cost curve a little bit, still provide an excellent revenue stream, and create some original ideas and original content. And that's what at the end of the day, I think that's what it has to be: the capacity to create original, interesting material, the ability to house it in such a place that your fans can enjoy it, and to be able to offer an environment where when they come in, they can get a drink that isn't $25,
Right.
because they're a fan owner.
Right.
They can enjoy the drink. They can be there with their
It could
girlfriend.
be
their
a shared
boyfriend,
access.
shared
to get
access.
in, or-
Yeah.
They can do meet and greets with the artists. They can enjoy. So the idea.
there
that-
are probably perks and benefits we're not even thinking of because we don't know what some of these
yes, and
things are.
and look, we're a startup, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the reality.
It's going to
So
grow.
so the idea is that we have the experience. That's why I started off with asking you about A&R. So
Yeah.
Jimmy's main background: locating, dealing with, and identifying talent.
Yeah.
Seth did a horrible job identifying himself. Has
That's
experience
not my forte.
has an
actually.
experience in nightclub operations. He was a performer
Yes.
of two different types. So he's worked on a stage both as a performer and backstage. He has helped promote and produce and Broadway shows in Atlantic City. So we have some affiliation with the book titles. We have managed Grammy Award winning bands as personal management.
All of us have.
Right.
All of us,
So
yeah.
so there is a depth of knowledge. And before I just say what we've done on our team is also people who have worked at the corporate level in marketing for companies like Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
We have on our team people who have worked in agencies like William Morris Agency.
Yep.
We have on our team, and these names may not mean much for you, but they are significant players within the entertainment industry. We have people on our team who have ran major properties in technical directions and were understanding of tour management. So we have the experience and the background to execute on these projects. And as an individuals, we have executed on these type of projects in the past. We have had multiple residencies, and not 2-day residencies,
Yeah.
multiple long-running,
Multi-year.
multi-year contracts on the Las Vegas Strip. We have managed for multi-year contracts platinum selling artists.
Yes.
We have also worked with bands who you would have never heard of, and we have taken them from 0 to 1 million Spotify
Yep.
amount of Spotify spins. Okay, so
Absolutely.
so the depth of knowledge is enormous. But if you don't believe in the concept, the idea that you as an individual for a modest investment can be part of the creation of something new from the ground up, then a startup probably isn't for you. But the goal here is to build a fan-owned Live Nation.
Yeah.
And let me also say that, you know, we all have a lot of history, but even this young company of ours, like, we're doing things. So we came here straight from the Westgate Hotel,
Yep.
where we have a rehearsal happening for our Boombox show.
Yep.
And those artists are coming in the next few weeks. Some of them were in last night.
Yes. Some of them were.
I want to say
Some of them
name.
were.
One of them said, "Let's do it."
Yeah, he did.
And and then we already have, and this is one of those crazy things that we can't get into details on publicly, but like, we booked we have a 7-figure deal that we've already done. It's for a private event next month. And there are a lot of good things happening just in this company. So
Right.
even if you forget history, if you look at the potential we're already building, the meetings that have already happened, the licensing we're already talking
Yeah.
about, like, you know, we're already on a great trajectory.
Right.
And I feel very good. Like, I feel much better today than when we started this project and said, hey, let's try to get all
Yeah.
these
Right.
people on board. Well, now I can say, well, this company, not the old company,
Yeah.
not us
Right.
individually,
Yeah.
but this company is doing some great things. But I want to wrangle a little bit because we will get caught up in our own grooviness and just keep on chatting.
Right.
And I wanted to see if Khalil had anything to keep us on track, if there are any questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, that was the longest answer to tell me about your backgrounds. So,
Do you feel like you understand now, Khalil? That's the
Yeah.
real question.
But I do have a question. Why aren't other companies doing this kind of investment for Vegas shows?
So it's hard to say exactly why they're not, but I can tell you that, I don't want to say bad things about anyone. So I think that, you know, any kind of entertainment, whether it's books, albums, movies, you know, albums, I'm talking about music like it's on an album. But
True.
anyway,
Just age
books,
yourself.
music, movies, whatever it is, there's a lot of failure along the way to success. So there are thousands of books. I'm guessing, SEC, don't get me on that number, there are tons of books that fail that no one's ever heard of for one blockbuster and one bestseller. And I feel like, producers in Vegas like to get someone to take a ride on a particular show. And if that one makes money, then that's great. But if it loses money, then they can just leave that investor or those investors behind and move on. And, that has happened with us where we've had a show and that one, this one went well. So that investor did another one with us. And then we have one that, was problematic. And then we may or may not work with that person again. And I don't think that's a fair model. Like, I like the idea of aligning our interests. And so I don't know if I'm sort of answering your question, Khalil, by not answering in a way, but I think that others are trying to make sure they get ahead.
Right.
But we're trying to build something with longevity to it where, by having our investors as part of our company, we can't get away from them. Like, if there's a failure, we can all say, okay, well, that was not the thing that
and accountability.
When we keep going.
You also have to look at, Khalil, when we go back to the music business, all right? Sometimes it's just not necessarily in their business model, or they might not have caught up to what the model is evolving to be. Back during my Jive days, we were selling actual albums, right? And we fought the internet. We fought it. We were just like the digital game. We fought it. We just said, nope. We're not going to the Wi-Fi, that thing, the cloud and the sky. We're not going to do that. We learned, and the music industry has learned a very, very tough lesson. And that was that things evolve. There's no way around it. Things evolve. We consider ourselves to be in the front, the front line of how theater is going to evolve. It's much more.
I think
than
you're very right. So
yeah.
I don't know if everyone can see those things, but I think that Vegas in particular is in for a very rude awakening. And I don't mean everyone's doing everything wrong and tomorrow we're going to fail.
No, not at all.
I just mean that there are changes happening, and corporations, just in their nature, is that they don't adjust very easily to that kind of change.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see some significant change in what happens here and the way the show content comes. And you're already seeing, because of the way the corporations are focused on gaming and what's happened with some of the smaller venues in town going away, you're seeing off-strip developments like Area 15. There's a theater, a $30 million theater being built downtown right now. Yeah. And it's not a conventional theater, but it's interesting. It's an interesting spot. And you're going to see more off-strip stuff in Vegas, right? Or non-theater based.
I'm going to dovetail into what you just said, though, too. So from a purely economic answer, I think the reason why a lot of producers in live entertainment do not go to the distributed smaller investor model is it's hard. If you can find investors,
there is accountability. Like
if you put investors in at $250,000 or even $25,000, look at a show in Vegas, mid-tier, small market show, not A-list talent, $1 to $3 million to produce. Raising that sort of capital at $105 is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time, and you create a lot of accountability along the way. And it's much easier to find accredited investors, larger investments at $250,000, $300,000, $500,000. You can raise your $3 million with 10 people, 5 people, 6 people, and you have, and usually these people have the capacity to absorb the losses if they take place. Broadway is an example where the minimum investment is usually around $20,000 to $25,000 for a unit. Now, there are times where they pool units, but a unit, $25,000. And you normally have to be an accredited investor to invest in that Broadway model.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is to why I said dovetail. I believe that a model where the smaller investor is involved on scale, thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands, creates something that the larger investor doesn't bring. Money is awesome. Capital makes life easier. But having people who are actually dedicated to the growth and the involvement of something, someone who in today's digital world will post about the opening of a show, someone who will brag to their friends about this project that they're involved in, creates, again, another word, buzz. It creates momentum. It creates synergy. And it allows you to push a project in such a way that pure capital just doesn't. Because in today's digital world, the reality is word of mouth and general excitement still sells better than slick billboards and expensive ad campaigns, because I am more likely to take the opinion of my friend or my mom or my cousin who says, you've got to go see this. This was great. This was awesome. Than the one of 5,000 Facebook posts I saw today on something that I'm going to maybe purchase for.
Absolutely.
So why do other companies not do this? It's hard. It takes a lot of work. We don't sleep. I can speak for me.
No, you can
I am
speak for us.
constantly looking at SEO reports on websites. I'm constantly looking at creative. I'm second guessing everything that we do in terms of, was that the right image? Was that the wrong image? Did I use the right word? I'm dyslexic. I'm a bad speller. Sometimes I write a post and I get a text from Seth at midnight, who's an excellent writer, with the fact that I used the wrong word, because I just miss, and I might have blown the
I just
entire
got
business.
vilified on our
Right.
webinar.
No, but I mean, I might have, but I mean, it's a lot of pressure in terms of doing that. And I know that Seth, when I say that, spends hours looking at video content and creation. I know that Jimmy and I have had conversations. Honestly, I think we had at least 15 calls yesterday and 9 text messages back and forth
Yes.
on the production of a show, because while we were out here raising money for this company, we were also actively producing a show. We are
Absolutely.
actively dealing with artists of name. We are
Exactly.
actively dealing with 10 dancers
Well,
that are on
actually trying
stage
to
right
build
now.
this
Yeah.
investor base.
Yeah. So it is hard. And I think it is easier if you get 10 people with huge money. But I think it comes with a fail. And that is that the same people that I want to be excited and purchase a ticket and go to the live entertainment experience have not been involved at all until it comes time to say, give me $200 to go to the show. And I think it's a mistake.
Did that get your
We
your answer, Khalil? Or did we get long-winded again?
Was that the short
No, no,
answer you
no.
were hoping for?
That was a great answer. That was a great answer.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say that's how I choose my next Netflix shows. It's not from seeing it on the commercials. It's from my friends telling me, you got to
Right,
watch.
like, listen,
you gotta watch
yeah.
this." Same thing.
My girlfriend's the exact same way. She'll get a requirement. Her brother will text her, hey, just watched blah, blah, blah on Netflix. You've got to go see
You've
this.
never heard of it before.
Never
And it's
heard of it.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the era we're in, though, with Spotify and YouTube. My wife watches lots of she has YouTubers she watches, and these people are making good livings because they get good viewership, but no one in here has heard of these people.
No.
And but that sort of like personalized playlist kind of approach is sort of what we're talking about here. It's not quite so much, not an on-demand entertainment, but we're guiding the overall vision that way.
Yeah, it's one further step than what everybody else
Yeah,
is saying right now, right?
It's as close as you can get within a live entertainment.
Exactly. It's experiential, and you get to experience some finances on the backside of that too.
Well, that's something else I want to mention here. Like, as an investment, we are a startup, and we hope to grow. We hope to expand. We built this model with the idea that each live project has a cash flow dividend model built into it for the investors. Now, each project's different and it's unique, but the idea is that as a collective, as a group, as fan owners and owners of the company, we participate as the company makes revenues and profits, and you do too, on each ongoing project. So this is not a situation where buy some stock, pray these fine gentlemen can guide it to an IPO and dump it. Okay.
Right.
The idea here is, and what makes live entertainment interesting is that it can be cash flow positive relatively quick as compared to an app, as compared to the next software company, as compared to an electric car. These are all things I very much believe in, right? There are companies I'm tracking that I believe in, that I've invested in, that I love, but it's going to be 20 years before some of them even get their demo product up off the ground. And by their own projections, they're going to burn through $1 billion before they reach profitability. Live entertainment can reach profitability. Not saying it will, can reach profitability day one.
Yes.
Okay. So that sort of ability to create profitability on day one is a rarity in the business environment.
Sure.
Speaking of rarities, let's get back to Khalil and some questions.
I do want to open up the floor for whoever is attended today in the audience. This webinar is for you, so get your questions answered. Use this time to ask them about. It could be about the Start Engine campaign. It could be about the business model. It could be anything Fan Rebellion related. So yeah, go ahead and ask those questions right now. We have a Q&A section on the bottom, so go ahead and ask those questions. I do have another question. You mentioned the Boombox show. If I invested in Fan Rebellion, will I be a part owner of your Boombox show, or is that completely separate?
No, that's you would be a part owner in that, in as much as you're a part owner of Fan Rebellion. So the show itself may end up with other commitments or financial partners, but for as much as we are a part of it, whatever percentage that you're in on Fan Rebellion, you're a part of that show and then whatever we're doing afterwards.
I know it was a short answer. We shocked you.
Sorry. Yeah.
No worries. We do have a question here from anonymous attendee. How are you different from other fan owned companies that are out there right now?
So I would say, well, first of all, when you say other fan-owned companies, fan-owned as a, like I wouldn't think there are that many. There's certainly there's a company we have a lot of respect for. Legion M is a film studio, I think they call themselves. And what I can say, so I know that one. And if that's the kind
There
of
are some
comparison-
films, and there are some independent films.
Yeah, I guess there are some other films.
Yeah, there are some independent films.
So the big difference, I would say, between being a fan owner in a film company and being a fan owner here is that films, it's like you were saying, films take quite a while to produce. And so, the idea of seeing that money come back could take much longer. But more so, like, when you think about we call them perks, right? You think about the advantages you get, like, maybe you get some free tickets or you get to go to a red carpet for a film. But if that film is at a film festival in Toronto and you live in Florida, you might not be likely you're going to do that. I guess what our hope is that the types of perks we can and will offer are tangible. Like if you enjoy Vegas, you can come here and you can take advantage of it. And, I know when I was younger here and I didn't have a lot of real industry contacts, I remember there was a nightclub that I had a special card I got into because I was in the industry. And I only took my friends there because I looked cool. I looked like I had some sort of in. They didn't know how it worked. And it's like, I got in for free. I got them in. I think we got a discount on drinks. I guess I always picture that in my head when we talk about what we're doing, because if you come here, you could have an opportunity to do something like that, where you have a tangible perk. I get it. Whether it's a discount, a special seat, getting in when you're not supposed to get in,
Meet and greets
with artists, like things that you can actually take advantage of. And I think that's where we immediately stand apart as a company, because I can't imagine, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm trying to imagine in a film environment,
right,
how everybody, could have access to so much stuff. Like, yes, a few people can get to go to a premiere or meet somebody
or go back or go on set where they're shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
But not like the entirety of their fan owners.
Also, we're not just focused on Vegas.
Right.
Vegas is our hub, but Boombox, for example, will ultimately live in a city near you.
Yeah, it's going to be
It's going to be a touring entity. And the other part of it too, I believe, that separates us. And again, I would never. You don't have to break another company down to build yours up. But sitting at the table, you have almost 90 years without us aging ourselves, maybe 100 years if we're counting. Yeah, right. We have a good amount of feet on the ground.
Yep.
Experience, while we are corporate guys and may have experienced the corporate structure that has taught us how to manage certain projects, our creative prowess, together is just something that you're not going to find anywhere else. I mean, we're doing some of everything. You know what I mean?
And we're a good mix of people. So like just the fact that we're all friends and get along well, it doesn't mean we all bring the same values to the project.
Exactly.
And we all have an interesting sort of music background and management.
Yeah.
Obviously you came from, jive and a lot of R&B and hip hop and stuff like that. And we worked in music with a lot of rock. I was a musician, but Jason has this really deep technical knowledge and has been, working with, union stagehands here and it goes back in his family. Jason is as Vegas as it gets. His mother was a showgirl and his father was a stagehand. And his grandfather owned a casino.
Yeah.
So that's Vegas, right?
Right.
But we've all done so many different things. So I think what you actually get is this meshing of what we're doing. This is not just because we all get along, we're doing this together. It's not like it's, three of the same thing here.
Yeah.
And I'll do one more. So Seth mentioned Legion M. That honestly, I think what they're doing is great. So I will take nothing away from them. They're wonderful. In fact, go look at them. The other aspect, though, is I think that in live entertainment, unlike film, that there's a greater ability to have influence, feedback, and capacity to be involved, because we're going to be putting out niche products. Film has to have a wider scope to become profitable because of the nature and cost of a film project versus live entertainment. Now, look, live entertainment can be expensive, but an expensive show can be 30, 40, $50 million. An average blockbuster film is $100 million, but you can make shows for 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. You can make indie films for that kind of money, but you aren't making commercially large scale production shows for that kind of cash.
All right, we should get more questions here.
You're on mute.
Khalil, you're on mute. This is one of those Zoom sessions. We get to say that to you.
If I'm an investor in Fan Rebellion, where exactly does my money go to?
So, I mean, it's operations.
You want me to handle this one?
Yeah, you want to handle it?
Yeah, I'll
Jason
handle
has
this
the finance back.
So part of it is operational. Part of it is production. We have put real money right now, capital, into physically a project that we're producing. That show's budget is going to be a minimum of $1.6 million. We have already funded a portion of that show. We're launching in a few months. Well, a few weeks, sorry. Literally, I think 2.5 weeks at this point, right? 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks, right?
Who knows?
So each project has a 1.6, a $2 million, a $3 million price tag onto it. And that is the operational cost of TI on a facility, the ability to put a show together, advanced marketing, creative, you name it. And if anyone wants a more detailed breakdown on that after this webinar, they are free to go and contact us so we can do a one-on-one, and I'm happy to
A whole
explain.
different webinar.
Yeah, I'm happy to explain the cost. Right now, currently, we are not taking salaries. If that's a question, we would like to at some point in time. This is a lot of work and hard time. I make no qualms about wanting to build a company that can make me have a salary that I can afford to feed my family and have a good life. We want to have those dividends that we talked about on each live project. I hope to participate in those along with the investors, and I will be doing it along with you at the same share values that I own versus what you would own. We are going to put money into things like this. I mean, this webinar right here involves marketing agencies, production costs, time and energy of the operator who you're not seeing, who's doing it with us. Khalil is everybody involved. So we are going to be having to spend money on capital raising. We're doing a raise.
If I could distill that down, so
Yeah.
it's a combination of operations and then actually putting into projects. It is possible that some projects will have outside investors to add to them, but I think our goal really is to keep as much ownership within the company. So, the ultimate use of funds will depend on how much comes in or whatever. And as I say the words use of funds, I have to say that I remember this, and Khalil can catch me on this, but I believe that we are restricted from speaking specifically about use of funds because of an SEC rule. Is that right?
Let me interject there.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a quick disclaimer. We can't speak on things that are on the Start Engine raise page because according to the SEC, we're not allowed to. But if you do want to know that information, check out that Start Engine page. All that information is there. Reach out to the Fan Rebellion team personally. They'll be more than happy to get those questions answered for you. But just on this webinar, on this live event, unfortunately, we're not allowed to discuss those terms.
Yeah, sorry. When you started talking, I started remembering.
Right. That's why I didn't say.
I said the words use of funds.
Right. That's why I'm not going into any specific percentages or details. But I think it is important to note that right now this is not a situation where we are raising money and paying ourselves cash out of hand. We're not.
Awesome. So, and then we have a question here from Brian. How are you going to go through and evaluate all the suggestions that come in from all the part owners?
I got this one too. So we're obviously in the startup process. The eventual plan is to develop an app. And the question we just had 1 second ago was, what are you going to use money for? Well, without violating the SEC, developing apps are not free. So we will develop a two-way interactive. We also will probably be putting together a FanDome advisory board. That FanDome advisory board will be rotating and probably will be people who want to volunteer, and then we'll do random selections, and they will do timed terms, and they will have advisory positions within it. None of that is solidified. Honestly, it depends if we have 1,000 investors or 10,000 investors. But the idea is to build an active, involved community that can, in fact, give input in.
There are still things to be worked out, like we talked earlier about, the secrecy of these things, and so normally we'd have a conversation and say, okay, well, I can't talk anymore unless you sign this NDA.
Right.
So, I think we have a lot to learn in terms of dealing with a fan base and then understanding, okay, is everyone covered under some sort of NDA with us?
That's why like an advisory board where those people serve in a term, they can be, for lack of better words, papered up.
But we're going to have private groups, like we're going to do a Facebook group, but I think ultimately we'll probably have our own community board for communicating. Hope that helped.
Okay. And we have a question here from Charles. I'm an investor with Fan Rebellion. I seen a show here in Las Vegas that I thought was awesome and they want to duplicate it. Are you guys interested in projects like this? If so, who do I need to contact?
We'll take anything. Yeah. So listen, I don't know the project.
Duplicating is something that would concern me. But if you're saying that someone's doing a show and is interested in putting it in other markets or doing something where we can get involved, just reach out to us, info@fanrebellion.com, honestly. But if it's copying someone else's content, like
we wouldn't do that.
We wouldn't do that. And that's really against our plan. Our plan is to do things to differentiate ourselves. But I do think look, some of the things we're talking about, there's one pretty major celebrity that we've been talking to about a project for a permanent venue. And look, we didn't come up with that IP. That IP has been around for quite a while. And so we're not against using, I don't think that we necessarily have the magic ideas. So we would work with other people.
We have managed.
Duplicating scares me.
But we have managed other shows historically. We have worked as general managers. We have worked as line producers and producers for other people's content. We have promoted. So someone has a show in a box and we essentially go out and find them places to put it, and you take a cut of the pie. Exactly. And then you also help structure the market. So again, another lesson word, right? Promoter versus producer. Now they sound really close, but they have totally distinct terms in doing it. But we have done and will continue to do both as part of our business model.
Right. So to that guy, your idea, while you saw it in Vegas, may work in Alaska. Mm-hmm. We would want to know.
Right.
So we want to have that kind of conversation. We wouldn't want to do it here, but we'd certainly take it somewhere else.
Awesome. And I'm going to answer this next question. It's, will this webinar be recorded and available to share afterwards? Yes, this webinar is currently recording, and we will be posting it on the Start Engine page, on social media, through email. We'll have a whole recap around it. So be on the lookout for that after the show.
Awesome.
Yeah. Where do you guys see, this going in 5 years?
So it's interesting to answer that question because, you only get so much space on the Start Engine page to talk about, you only want to talk about the tangible future, I guess. Right. And if you start getting too far ahead, then it becomes it's like
surreal.
Where's this going? Like it's a lot of info. But I think, the future of what we're doing actually ends up being way beyond the creative parts of this. I think that we talk about, corporations and choosing entertainment, but think about the corporations that are controlling ticketing and the way the marketing is done. And all of that has become very corporatized, very not mainstream,
centralized.
Yeah. So I think there are ways to make more unique experiences or alliances with other people who are doing more unique experiences for that, and to infiltrate, if you will, a market like Vegas and break up the corporate aspects of it. So I actually think that the big money makers in the future for this company will be around ticketing and marketing.
It's just disruptive stuff. Like there is a tech play. I mean, I hate that word, right? Because everybody wants to talk apps.
Which word did you hate?
The whole tech play thing, right? Like, so, but the concept that there are aspects of this that would eventually down the road involve the capacity to deliver content, market content, and sell content in such a way that's decentralized. Hopefully that reduces the cost curve, because I think the cost curve has gotten way out of control. And I think that by reducing the cost curve, you broaden the market to people who want to go see it but cannot afford the content the way it's created. I mean, I'm just going to speak for myself completely, not as an owner, just a straight human being who has an 11-year-old kid and has a girlfriend who likes to go out for dates. Going out to live entertainment has become expensive.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And part of that is that there is a cost curve because of the way the venues, the ticket brokers, the marketing all function, not just the producers. I mean,
Right.
don't get me
Most of that
wrong.
money actually doesn't.
Yeah, like,
you know,
don't get me
I don't
wrong.
want to say most, but a
Yeah.
lot of that money doesn't go to
Yeah.
the performers
So-
or producers.
So the capacity to own venue operations, ticketing operations, marketing operations in a synergistic model allows
the
us
vertical
to,
integration.
vertical
So-
integration.
And if you add the ticketing and the,
Yes.
all
It allows
together,
us to lower the cost, lower that cost curve in such a way that I hope that it will broaden the ability for people to go out so that they can enjoy the night out. At the end of the day, we're an entertainment company, right? At the end of the day, it's live entertainment. The whole point of it is to be able to go out and have a good time and not wake up the next day looking at your credit card bill or debit card bill or checkbook or your wallet, depending on how you spend, and go, oh my God, how did I spend that much money? Or wow, that was expensive. Because what you want to do is wake up and go, worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it again.
Awesome. With, we have a couple minutes here left. Are there any final remarks, each of you guys want to say, or any anything you'd like the fans here watching, or anyone going to be watching it later to do after this webinar?
I guess I would say that, this is, we locked in on the expression to follow our journey as we're doing this. And this is a journey. This will be a journey. We are, starting here. We have our Boombox show that's about to open. We do have a slate of projects we're working on that are spoken about a little vaguely on our Start Engine page, but it really will be a journey. There's going to be a lot of development over time. There will be a lot of, and as such though, like the perks we talk about, the advantages, there'll be a lot of those that develop over time,
Right.
some that we couldn't even foresee right now. And when you talk about how to make money off this, certainly we expect our share values to grow and the company appreciates and you make money that way. But the more interesting projects we get that can pay dividends and whatnot, then this could become a cash flow source and an entertainment source. And I really it's exciting to see where this could go as a community.
I think also when you compare what we're doing to taking your family out to a coffee shop, and you're going to spend $150 in coffee and sandwiches and a donut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Had I had the experience of a fan rebellion when I was making records,
Right.
The idea that you don't necessarily have to create in a vacuum. I think that, I want our fans, I want our participants to know that this gives us the opportunity to also listen, so that we can be more targeted in the show choices that we made. As a full-on creative, I've never experienced that. And I've been making records for 30 years, always in a vacuum, which means sometimes you hit and sometimes you don't. How many times
Independent artists are though, because they put stuff out they put unfinished content out on YouTube.
But that's exactly why I said earlier that the music business
It's just now,
refused to evolve on the front end.
So the artists on the back end.
Exactly. What we are doing here is on the front end. And to many people, it may not make any sense at all.
Right.
However, spending spending $100 on coffee, doesn't make that much sense. But there are very popular coffee shops on every single corner,
Right.
which proves that it actually does make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And someone had to start and say that I'm going to charge $14 for a cup of coffee that you could buy a whole package of coffee for a month at ShopRite. Someone had to say that, right?
Spent $50 on coffee on the way here, by the way.
We spent 50, and there was 3 of us.
Right.
So God knows
there were some little eggy things.
$50 on coffee and eggs, and to go. We didn't even, and no one even served us. You know what I mean? So I think that that's the exciting part.
Yeah.
Is that you're on the front. You're on you're where Tesla was when Tesla was an idea. You know what I mean? You're so early on, and this is, to your point, going to evolve into something much, much bigger. I mean, maybe there's a film project down the road. Have you ever thought that you would be part of a film project? Maybe there is, something else that's experiential where it's not a bunch of artists, singing and dancing on stage.
Well, we already have some experience.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pipelines.
Exactly. So I think that, that's a big piece.
What would I say? I would say that if you are interested in doing a startup that isn't a widget, if you're interested in doing a startup that is a creative foundation, that is about live entertainment as a general concept, but that flows into your desire to see certain things, take your family out, take your girlfriend out, go out and entertain yourself. We're an interesting company to look at. From an economic point of view, we're designed to be affordable to invest in. We're designed to be able to distribute funds back to investors at the scale in which they invest. And everyone is designed to participate equally in the way that that takes place in terms of their share ownership percentage. So the idea was not to hoard money in one top field, and then if we get lucky someday and do an IPO, you cash out. The idea was to create a similar to a real estate model. There was a cash flow model built into the system, and there was a capital appreciation of the shares, and there was also assets that the company will develop and own over time.
And that's the end of hour 1. So stay tuned for hours 3, 4,
and 5.
Yeah.
Where we'll continue introducing ourselves.
Exactly. You know, the next webinar, maybe we'll get the backgrounds a little more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But awesome. Thank you guys so much for this fantastic webinar. Thank you everyone who attended today. Like I mentioned, you know, be on the lookout for the recap. Fan Rebellion is currently live on Start Engine. Make sure you check them out. And when you're on that page, there's a little heart button on the top right corner. Click that button. Stay up to date with Fan Rebellion and what they're doing. Gentlemen, this was a fantastic time. Thank you guys so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye.